The 1980s is a very interesting time period in the history of video games and video game music. There was a crash in 1983 because of too many games that were low quality and so on and so forth. This was a booming time period for arcade games, and it was the birth of the home console and the revitalization of video games as we know them with the Nintendo Entertainment System, and the first of the console wars to round out the decade between Nintendo and Sega. That's a time period that's markedly really interesting for video game music, and I want to go through for my own curiosity, and maybe yours as well, to check out some of the greatest hits from the 1980s when it comes to video game music. First up is a tried and true classic from 1981, Donkey Kong. The incredible thing is that even right away, even in the 1980s, we're still talking about harmony. We're still talking about call and response. We're still talking about these things that make video game music so enjoyable even today. There's a bouncing, energetic quality about this that makes you want to put in your coins and start this game. There's a quality here of call and response between the right and left hand that is really enjoyable. And on top of that, there's terrific harmony as we enter and round out this 15-second piece near the middle of it that is really incredibly, I don't know, it's bright, it's playful, it's fun, it's happy, and that can't be denied. Let's listen to it again. I especially love the melody over around 8 seconds here. Check this out. That's really where we're getting left and right hand coming together and harmonizing in this beautiful way, and it's just a delight to listen to. Now, Contra came out in 1987. I don't know how many of you were alive or even played that, but Contra is a classic run and gun game that honestly I low-key miss, and was a defining game of my childhood, actually.
What is this place? Keep your eyes peeled.
And if you think about what movies were out in the 1980s, in the late 1980s, you've got stuff like The Terminator, Die Hard, Predator, Beverly Hills Cop, Rambo First Blood Part 2, RoboCop. Contra sound is super in line with many of the amazing action movies from the 1980s. It's bolstering, empowering, and makes you feel like a total badass. And Contra just felt fun. There was something adventurous about it. There was something, you just felt like a total badass. And it's one of the first games I ever played that I really felt like, hey, I'm destroying people and taking names. Not only that, but it was also a massive commercial success for Konami. And it was one of the top 4 highest grossing arcade games of 1987 in the United States. Now, I played it when it came out on the NES in 1988. Of course, I was a child, but Electronic Gaming Monthly actually awarded it the best action game of 1988. The music itself in this title demo is super inspired, again, and it makes you just feel like you're an absolute badass. Moving on to the first background music, what I wanted to listen to is Thunder Landing. Let's check this out. Meter change. So many triplets. I mean, it's amazing. Even this track, too, it's a badass piece of music that makes you feel like you're moving forward, like you're taking names, like you're kicking ass, and ultimately that you're going to defeat the aliens or whatever the hell you're fighting. I love that track, and it's just fun to listen to this stuff and to parallel it to what's coming out in popular culture when it comes to movies and stuff as well. it makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't directly influenced by those action movies. Next up, when we talk about arcade games, is of course the game Tron. Tron actually was interesting because it was a movie tie-in, and it actually ended up earning more than the movie did on its initial box office release. This track is called I.O. Tower. You feel like you're ascending a tower. You feel like you're actually going towards an objective. Interestingly enough, it does feel like there's, again, this idea of telling a story through music, even with limited technology, is really impressive. You know, this is a movie tie-in as well. So there has to be some connection to the movie, A. And B, this was the first time that people probably got to simulate what it was like to be in an actual movie experience. Now, in that track, you do get the sense that we are climbing a tower. And what I find most interesting is that we do still get super programmatic storytelling, even with the limited sound chip that we have available to us. We still feel like we're climbing. We still feel like we're facing danger. We still feel like we don't know where to turn or what we're going to do or what the emotional context of like how we need to feel in order to like push through this adversity, right? That's a thing that really exists here. But it's fascinating that even though we have limited use and ability, we can still decipher an emotional quality from this piece of music, which I feel is really, really cool. This arcade game was all about doing trials and essentially becoming Tron. And so everything you're experiencing in this game is not only going to connect you to the movie more, but also it really does feel like this is a fight for your life type of situation. You know what I mean? Now, when we talk about console video games in the 1980s, one that really comes to mind is Dragon Quest from 1986. Now, as far as I know, this is still the recurrent main theme motif that we hear in modern Dragon Quests, but I've never actually heard it. So let's check this one out. Yeah. You can hear the trumpets. It's cool. That terrific cascading arpeggiation in the left hand. The ostinato. I mean, amazing 4-part harmony in here as well. And really, the thing that really stuck out to me is how empty this would sound if it wasn't for that left-hand bass playing alongside and really moving along. It goes up, it goes down, it cascades down, it descends down. It just rolls off the fingers and it makes you feel so grounded, especially because all of the stuff that happens in the upper register is all the real extreme range. So because we have the left hand all the way down and the right hand all the way up, and yes, there is actually a 4-part harmony in there, which is incredibly impressive to me, mostly moving in unison as well, despite being, I think, in thirds, I think. What's really incredible about this piece is that this just sounds so modern, even though, you know, it came out in 1986. It's a piece that heralds victory. You know, it's a piece it's a celebratory piece. It's a piece that celebrates the sunlight, a beautiful sky, quelling a foe, fighting a battle and becoming victorious. There's an energy around it in such a march quality that just, that exudes positivity and it exudes, a warmth. But I really enjoy the beginning part as we herald the trumpet call. And I love that we could hear the trumpets. It's very rhythmic. It's very, again, bounding, joyful. We know exactly what to expect right away. And then we still kind of get, obviously it's all like pretty trumpety if we're really going to talk about it. Obviously it's hard to talk about the sort of sound font with that, but I love the energy in the beginning. Bum 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 bum. And then obviously now we have orchestration, so when it goes right, but even still, I mean, listen to the transition. Well, there isn't one because of the technology, but it's terrific because everything is in harmony and moving at the same time, except for the bass, which is doing its own thing off on its own. And again, that is causing so much support for those upper notes, where otherwise it would sound really plain and almost stale. But because of that bass, we're actually elevating the experience, and it really, sends home the message a little bit more. It's really fun. Another amazing piece from this time period would be the original Metal Gear. And the thing that's amazing about it is that this is actually the same music that we end up hearing in Metal Gear Solid 10 years later in 1998. And this is Theme of Terra. I mean, it's an incredible thing. What's really fascinating to me is that we have and what does that do? That's really like, it's like sneaking around, right? That's like, holy shit, I don't know where to turn, I don't know where to go, but I'm Snake, so I'm gonna move forward, and or Big Boss, I don't actually know. And then you get this counter melody, or you get this melody, I should say, that's very much like, okay, this is a bad situation. Like someone is kidnapped and I have to rescue them or what have you. And so there's this push and pull, and then there's these nice little block chords, sha ta cha sha ta da da. That's all tension, and that it does it really well, given the sound font and given the soundscape of what we're working with. Everything in this feels palpably stressful, and that's what makes the stalking and the sneaking around bit more daunting and more exciting. Now, obviously, it's limited in this game, but I still think that it's a really intriguing soundscape there that produces and elicits a feeling of threat and of fear and of nervousness. Not that Solid Snake, Big Boss are really the nervous type, but it still produces that quality of being alert and paying attention, which is really, really awesome. But we can't film an episode about the 1980s without talking about this guy. And it really is an incredible thing, isn't it? I mean, it's so lively. So what happens there? Da-dum-dum-ba-bum-bum. Unison movement, first of all. And then we have this. We have this fantastic rhythmic percussion. And then these are just chords. Bum 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 bum. So we have harmony, and we're moving in unison. Cool, that's great. And then Then we still have unison harmony in the right hand, but the left does something different. See if you can notice it. Bum, 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 bum. Then we come together. Now it's on its own again. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Together. Boom, bum, 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 bum. Back together. Back together. And that's a joyous piece of music. I mean, we can't put it any other way. That's a bright quality in that sound. That's a joyous quality in that sound. That's so inviting. It's so warm, friendly, energetic, playful, enthusiastic, right? There's a quality in that music of celebration. There's a quality in that music of really, I mean, just a playful nature more than anything else. It's a brightness. Now, Vampire Killer from Castlevania is certainly one of the more popular tunes from this Konami game, but I can't help but play it because it's really just awesome. This is from 1987. And it's cool because actually, the movement's obviously coming from the right hand. It's just a repeated 2 pattern. But then check out underneath what's going on with the bass. And then we move into the melody. And what I really like about this is that we essentially get ourselves into a bit of an echo. We get ourselves into an ethereal quality. Bum, 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 bum. There's a bit of an echo quality in there. Makes us feel like we're like searching through fog. Or, I mean, you know, this is the first stage. So we're kind of like, what is this place? This is a new environment. I need to move through and navigate this. And man, I don't know. The dangers are coming from every corner. There's a bit of like a worry or concern in there, isn't there? Listen to that. You hear the ethereal quality? And then this is danger. Nice chords there. Do you notice how this back half, that's really about like, I got this. I got to move forward. I'm not going to be... And then because the danger comes in... I'm not going to give up. Let's go. Let's keep going. I love that. I think it's such a... Again, we're already setting the stage for certainly what's to come, but we're already setting the stage for emotional connection to pieces where we're feeling a bit of fear, a bit of nervousness, a bit of concern. That's the goal of this music, even all the way in the 80s. And that's an amazing thing that throughout the entirety of video games history, more or less, we're talking about emotion. We're talking about connecting audience members and players to the gameplay experience. That's why we have to talk about video game music, because it's a really important aspect of this whole industry and this whole process of making these games. Now, there's a ton of other games from the decades, from the 1980s, that I'd like to visit and revisit when we can do this again, but I think we can't leave without talking about Mega Man from 1987. I like how this is Elecman's stage. This is a character that controls lightning, electricity, voltage, well, theoretically, the voltage of nuclear power plants. And we actually hear that within the music. And actually, shockingly, it's actually pretty joyful. But listen to how we get these little clues of electricity, or voltage, excuse me. Listen, right there. But I find this, don't you feel like that's a really optimistic and positive sound? I mean, like, what do you think when you hear that? That's more voltage there. There's a brightness in that sound, an invitation to combat, or just an invitation to be together, or I don't know. There's a real like warmth in that sound too, to me. Voltage. And then also terrific ostinato on the left hand. I love the accents. The accents are that voltage for sure. And then we swap. This is a really cool thing that I have not heard yet happen in any of these tracks, but we switch over, we glissando up with the left hand, and suddenly in the right hand we're going da 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 da, while the left hand becomes the melodic center. And then we recycle and go back into and that really is a piece of excitement, of exuberance, of like being present, of fighting the good fight. You know what I mean? And I find that kind of interesting because the energy in it is not harsh. It's not desperate. It's not dire. And even though we do get those hints of the boss or, Elekman, there's an energy in that music that's very delightful to listen to. And gosh, there are so many pieces from the 1980s that are worthy of being celebrated and being listened to and being talked about. And unfortunately, we just don't have enough time to do it, but there's so many tracks. So if you want to keep doing this is part of my video games through the decade series. I would love to keep doing this. I think it's really important and also really exciting because there's just so much stuff out there that honestly, half of these I didn't even really know or remember or necessarily connect with at the time as I was growing up. But these pieces are important. So if you want more of this, definitely drop your favorite tracks from the 1980s down below, and we'll get to it in a second or third or fourth or fifth video because I'd love to keep doing it. Thanks a ton, and I'll see you later. Bye.